You talked about the relationship side of referrals, but with your clients, you're actually helping people onboard and set things up so that it aligns with their definition of success. And I think that's really powerful because uh, we're in an era where retention is really, really important. It's hard enough to be able to get some business initially, but once you get them, then it's even more important to be able to hold on to them because one, there's the customer experience. If that person feels like they got that they paid their money and then all of a sudden you forgot about them, that's not someone that you want running around talking about your business in rooms that you're not in. Because the experience would be, yeah, they were just in it for the money. Once they got it, like they were very attentive up front, but then on the back end, then they weren't really saying that much. So it's something where your system is set up to be able to identify those things and make sure that people aren't setting themselves up with red flags and blind spots. And I really appreciate that about what you're doing. So
Yeah,
you do
it
something that most
identifies the
people
green
don't
lights
do.
from the red lights. That's essentially what it's doing.
Yes.
Like somebody could say that they're going to be in contact, blah, blah, blah. That's all talk, no action. There's no
Hmm.
action. And the system shows whether or not there's no action. And therefore, because of that, I can make an informed decision of not to focus on that particular individual because they're not really about their word. There you go. And you'll see the people that are about the word over a span of like 1 month, 2 month, 3 month. You'll see how engaged they are, because I always will follow up with them, and the system is reading whether they're replying, whether they're opening up stuff, whether they're contributing to, referrals or connections for me. Like all that is being kept track of. So therefore, I have an accumulated amount of data that allows me to make an informed decision over who to focus my efforts on, because we only have so many hours in the day that
Hmm.
we have to make it count with the people that are also contributing to what we're doing.
Absolutely. So now let's dig into what it looks like for a client because this isn't just a system that you have in place for yourself, but you're also able to be able to help people understand how to be able to set up a system for themselves. So with that, that requires a certain level of understanding of their business. And there is an onboarding process that allows people to be able to tell you these things so that you can structure something that's really more custom for them. I think there are a lot of people that will just hop on a CRM because they see it's on sale and things like that. And then they're doing trial and error. But they're not really setting up a system, and the only people that really know to set up a system are people that are more seasoned, and they're probably not giving away their trade secrets. So you know these things, and then you're actually taking it and being able to help people set up their systems. But can you walk me through what that process is like? Because it's not just the CRMs that you're helping set up and then their systems, but you're actually vetting these CRMs as well. Like that's something else that most people don't really do. You're having actual conversations with the people that are calling the shots to make sure that when you make a recommendation, you're making a recommendation based on not just what you know about that business, but what's going to be the best fit for that actual customer.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at filtering in and out CRMs, the absolutely first thing I look at, there's other factors, but this is something that is definitely valuable to mention because most entrepreneurs plan to grow. Obviously, they're going to plan to make more, accumulate more contacts, more prospects, more customers. And if that's the case, I highly recommend people really take the time to not and to avoid CRMs that do the stair step pricing models. So, an
Yes.
example of stair step pricing is when you grow your contact list beyond a certain amount, and some companies will say, hey, you reached the threshold, you have to upgrade to a pricier package. Or if you happen to add new staff members into your CRM, they charge you per user, per seat, per month. So, for example, it could be $50 a month. If you look at the fine print, it'll say $50 a month per user per month.
Hmm.
So, say you had 10 users, 50 times 10, that's $500 extra per month. So, you have to really be cognizant of that. And most people don't pay attention to that. They don't read the fine print. And that is something that is very costly decision that ends up being the wrong decision to make in terms of what to commit to and in terms of a CRM. And also, too, the other thing, another example of stair-step pricing is if you continue to grow and you need additional features, that means that you have to upgrade to a more expensive package. Even if it's
Yes.
one feature that you want, that
Yes.
next feature up could be in a very, very expensive package amongst many other features that you don't need, but you need that
Hmm.
one feature, but it doesn't matter. You have to upgrade to the whole expensive feature. And I tell people, do not make that wrong long-term decision. Because a lot of times people look at the immediate gratification. They look at the free trial. They look at the
Hmm.
low cost. Well, those things are, I call it the gateway entry drug, because they're going to get you hooked on it. They're going to start like, over time, you're going to grow, and then it's going to be a lot pricier. And then you're going to be so hooked on it that you can't leave because it's too much work to migrate to another CRM. So I want to make sure that I educate all the people that come into my network about the right CRM to choose that's good for you for the long term. not the one that's good for immediate gratification. So that's the first thing I start off with. And then from there, like they could take my recommendation of what I've already done my research on, and they could take my CRM recommendation, or they could take that knowledge that they have and do their own independent filtering for themselves and research for themselves so that they could filter out those stair step pricing modeled CRMs or whatnot. So that's just the first step. And then the next step is if I know that they do want to work with me after I make a recommendation, the goal is to get a general understanding of their business, their challenges, their goals, and then identify what are those top priority items or task items that you want completed as it relates to your CRM. And then from there, I'll just recommend to them which package that I will offer to them. And I made it simple these past couple of years. I have three packages. I like the names of them. One is called the appetizer plan, which is 10 hours a month. The second one is
Mhm.
called the balanced meal, which is 20 hours a month. And the last one is the full feast, which is 40 hours a month. And based on
Okay.
what the person needs, I will recommend to them which package plan is right for them. And it's month to month, so they could cancel whenever they want. And I tell them my goal is to train you and build the system according to your needs so that you could be self-sufficient and work on your own, whether it's me training you and or your team. Like the goal is to let me leave that process so you're independent
Mhm.
of me and you could actually function on your own without needing me. Now there's some people that just depend on me on a forever basis, and that's fine. Their priorities are different, but I always tell people like my first goal is to train you and or your team so that you could be independent of me. Some people are good with that. Some people don't want that, and they just want to focus on their business, not focus on the
Mhm.
CRM technologies backend, and that's fine. I work with people however they want to work with me, and identifying their priorities and asking a lot of questions to find out how we truly are going to work together. So I like that flexibility.
I love that because there's specific things that I want people to be able to take away from it. There are the platforms, there are the Black Friday deals where, you'll see a lot of features and people jump to be able to try to make the most of those. As someone that was synonymous with future purchases, so I would get something going, you know what, I don't need it right now, but I may need it later. When I started looking back at how much money I was spending on things, there are things that I have that are on the shelf that I've never used. And every time I try to bring it back and say, okay, well, now I can actually use it. There's actually a CRM where I said, okay, well, I know they have a community. And then when I went to look at the community, it was an extra fee. And I'm going, so I paid for all of these things, but the one thing that I need, I have to pay an additional monthly fee. And then there are the ones where it's like you said, there are the features where it's not even just that smaller price. It's baked into a bigger package that's in a lot of cases they may call enterprise or they give it a specific type of name. And you may say, okay, well, it makes sense. Fine. I'll just go ahead and pay it. But when you start thinking about the compound cost of month over month over month over month, you have to start looking at, what happens when, like, you can do it when things are good, but are you also planning for when things may slow down a little bit? And then those extra costs actually mean more to you. And you could be taking that time and focus and all the different things that you have and applying it to something that's actually going to move the needle with the business. So I think it's important to be able to speak to looking at the fine print. And if you're not someone that looks at the fine print, bringing someone in that can actually have those conversations and say, no, here's all the reasons why this is the one that you're most likely going to want to look at.